wife. He was born in Myrtle Creek. He and his wife Mary have 2 sons. He began his public service career as an intern for former Senator Mark Hatfield. Then he went to work at the Pentagon in the Congressional Budget Office before moving back on to as head of the Habitat for Humanity in Portland. In 1998, Jeff was elected to the Oregon House of Representatives and went on to become Speaker of the House. Today's town hall is Jeff's 84th town hall since he became the United States Senator. Jeff will tell you about his work on our behalf in the nation's capital. Please welcome Senator Jeff.
Jay, thank you very much for the introduction and for your public service. Indeed, I thought I'd have everyone who's elected stand up and introduce themselves so folks know who our community leaders are. Sarah, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I'm Sarah Gelser, State Representative from Philomath and Philomath, and one of the best things of serving in the legislature was working with Senator Merkley on this for now.
Thanks, Sarah. And who else do we have? Our city commissioners and
Angie Bosser, Long City Council.
Linda Zerall, and
anyone else? Well, thank you very much to our public servants for working where the rubber hits the road. It's great to have you here. Thank you. And Irene, I want to thank you for your excellent work as Executive Director, and so much has happened under your leadership. I got a chance to have a tour of the storage area for all of the artifacts, and I don't know that I've ever seen such a ratio of fascinating stuff that all has to be in storage because there isn't enough public space. And I know that you're working on another phase to create additional public space, and so you and your board, and the president of the board, Joanne Crow, is here. And so they're doing a great job, and I wanted to mention that Cliff Crow didn't stand as an elected official, but he was really an inspiration for me when I first came to the legislature in 1999, and thank you for all that you've done forward. So I wanted to mention a few things that are happening in Washington, D.C., a few issues, and then we'll go into the questions and comments. Our first question will be from one of our students from Philomath High School, Harriet Thompson, and then we'll go on with the rest of the comments and questions. Irene has agreed to pull the raffle tickets and read numbers so that we can just do this in a completely fair and even manner. When we get to that part, I just want to remind folks that no matter how passionately you feel, somebody else may feel very differently. So we are going to ask you to respect everyone else when they're speaking, and we're going to ask everyone else to respect you when you're speaking to your point of view, so everybody can fully utilize their First Amendment opportunity to participate. A couple of the issues that I want to mention really fall under the broad topic of jobs. One of the issues is about biomass, and we've recently had a change in the position of the EPA, because the EPA had been comparing biomass, if you will, to coal, looking just at the combustion cycle, but not at the life cycle of the different fuels and their environmental impact. And it takes me back to a time I had a conversation with a group about the challenge of global warming, and the young lady said, wouldn't it be great if we had a machine to pull carbon dioxide out of the air? And I was able to say, well, you'll be happy to know we grow millions of those machines in Oregon. But that 3-year suspension of the rule to allow them to rewrite their regulations to differentiate between the two is a step forward. More broadly on energy, we have to continuously think about the fact that we are addicted to oil. And not only is that bad for the environment, but because so much oil comes from overseas, it's really bad for our economy, and it's bad for our national security. On the economic side, we're exporting $1 billion a day. And when we're paying for foreign energy, instead of keeping those energy dollars here in our own economy, then those dollars do not come to our retail stores and create jobs within our own community. So, equally from a national security perspective, we have to recognize that some estimates are that we have the equivalent of a $5 per gallon tax on the gasoline you buy at the pump when you count in the national security efforts necessary to maintain the flow of oil from abroad. So very expensive form of energy. Furthermore, we know that with the leap in demand in China and other places, the cost of foreign petroleum is only going to go up. So the smart thing strategically is to position ourselves with clean, renewable, American-made energy. Furthermore, we can do a lot more in energy conservation that will do a lot to create jobs. One of the programs that I've been working on is one called Home Star and Building Star. Uses low-cost loans to do energy-saving renovations. And this is estimated to be the best bang for the buck job idea in basically economists have studied. And so I'm going to keep pushing on that front. The President's budget that just came out supported this concept as well, and so it's good to have his team behind it. More broadly, on housing. Housing brought us into this economic recession, both through the predatory mortgage practices combined with the Wall Street security practices, and we still have 300,000 foreclosures a month across America. Those foreclosures not only do great damage to the families involved, but they also have a big impact on communities. An empty house brings down the value of surrounding houses by $2,000 to $5,000. It certainly affects consumer confidence of families living in the community. It certainly continues to drive the downward value of houses, more families being underwater. So I laid out a plan called Paving the Way to a Healthy Housing Market, which I laid out 5 ideas, a couple to take on the issue of how to make our mortgage modification program work better, and then several ideas related to generally improving the health of the housing market. I'll be glad to talk about that further if anyone should ask. I do want to note that we're hit not only in Oregon directly by the foreclosures, and we had 28,000 families get foreclosure filings just last year, and the estimate for this year will be the same. But because we also are a timber state that makes lumber, until the housing recovers nationwide, we're not going to sell very much lumber. And then finally, I'll just note that if we are going to thrive as a nation, we have to invest in infrastructure, and we have to invest in education. And there's a big battle in D.C. right now over the national budget. And whether you shut down every program in sight to try to do an immediate balancing of the budget, and if you do so, what does that do for investments in education and infrastructure? And what does it do in terms of creating short-term shockwaves that may actually increase our annual deficits by driving us into a double-dip recession? So that budget debate is a key piece of the conversation. So I think that's enough things to just touch on to get us thinking about the challenges that we have. And so with that, I'm going to go back to Harry and recognize you. Let's see, Harry, where are you at? Harry, do you want to share a little bit about which year you are in school and are you a senior this year?
Yes.
So you want to share? Go ahead and stand up and we'll get a mic to you and you can tell us a little bit about what you're thinking about doing next year and then ask your question.
Well, I'm a senior in high school, and going on to college is kind of scary because, just through senior year, you have to go through scholarships and FAFSA and everything, and we have our senior project we have to do, so there's a lot to think about, but one of my main concerns is having money to go to college. I mean, you can do scholarships, and like I said, you can do the FAFSA, but I feel like that'll only help me so much. And coming from my family, they can help me out a little bit. But of course, they're struggling as well as many families are, I'm sure. So I guess I want to know, coming as a kid going to college next year, what are your plans to try and help out the education funds and helping kids get enough money so that they can go to college and can get an education, which is very important, especially for jobs, so that you can come out of college looking for a job and actually get one.
So, Harriet, what are you thinking about studying and where are you thinking about going to school?
I really would like to go to the Art Institute of Portland to study fashion marketing and then have a minor in business. And Art Institute is $90,000 and so it's very expensive. So I'm really trying my hardest to do scholarships and stuff. So with that, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming and asking the first question. And it's a critical question.